What is going on, everyone? Alex here. Thank you for tuning in for another YouTube video discussion on a topic of interest. Today's topic is the allure of social media and our propensity as humans to fall into the clutches of social media and social media's addiction. As humans, it comes as no surprise to me that millions upon millions of us have fallen into the grasp of the attraction of social media, namely in the sense that we can very visually, statistically numerically see the results of our efforts of showing up on social media in the form of validation, in the form of likes and follows, and other forms of adoration that the inventors of social media have been very intentional about creating within their system and encouraging for social media to stick around and for the networking effect to maintain its power on the population. This very visual reminder that we're being validated over and over again by various people is extremely attractive and serves to tighten its grip on our need to know that other people are liking what we do and engaging with what we do, and there can be a very strong appeal to that, of course. I just wanted to throw my couple of cents into the ring here for this conversation. Hopefully that motorbike disappears off so I can get a word in edgeways. What are my thoughts on social media? Should we ban it altogether? Should we throw it out? Should we delete all our apps? Should we dispose of it as a potential and very powerful tool for business growth and exposure and getting a following and building an audience and helping get your product and service and ideas across to more people, which in and of itself is a very positive idea? What do we do with social media if it's creating addiction in some of us, in many of us? What is the right approach in its being part of our lives? Now, clearly it's having a detrimental effect, as we can see based on various stories that are being told about people falling foul, falling victim to its Alice in Wonderland appeal, falling down the rabbit hole and getting very addicted to it and taking the validation that is seen within it very seriously. A lot of young kids can take the criticism that happens on social media from other people very seriously. They take it very personally, and a naive mind might come across a negative social media experience and make it a very bad thing and be very personally harmed by it. Here's my take. We need to, because most of the challenges that are wrapped up within social media are tied to our need for validation as human beings. That for me seems to be a very strong hook that makes social media work, and makes the networking effect take hold, is that we have this inherent need to be validated. We have this inherent need to want to feel like we're part of the crowd, and we're liked and we're appreciated for what we do, and we have people that take notice of our work, and that's, whether we like to believe it or not, one of the main drivers behind why people continue to create content. It's why I show up, partly, most days, to get these videos out and to tweet and to share blogs. I mean, beyond many other things, I have many other reasons as to why I do this. But given that validation can be a very strong reason to continue showing up and to continue using social media, I think that is an area that we can look at more closely, and it's an area that we need to be careful with. The issue that I think that needs awareness pointed on it is that we can very easily fall into the trap as human beings of tying social media likes, followers, validation, and if any form of social media, any form of validation that has taken the form of a social media like or following or whatever it is that shows you that other people are validating you. We have to be careful about associating that with your level of self-worth. That for me is the crux of things. If we take seriously the illusion of social media validation being tied to your self-worth, your degree of self-worth, then you're in trouble. So for example, if you see your Instagram likes going up every week because you're sharing saucy images of your behind on Instagram with regularity, and you're seeing your likes go up, you're seeing the comments flow in, you're seeing the followers rise, the mistake to be made is that you tie your confidence, you tie your sense of self-esteem, your sense of self-worth to that increase in validation, and you see the two as the same thing. The more likes you get, the more self-belief you have in yourself, the more self-worth you feel you have. That's dangerous because you're relying on external circumstances, namely social media validation, to determine your level of perceived self-worth, happiness, self-esteem, whatever you want to call it. They're all kind of the same thing. The danger there is that we are at the mercy of other people's decisions. We are at the mercy of other people's choices. We are essentially reaffirming the idea and the reality that we are victims in our own lives. Hello, dog. Hello. Not a great thing. If you're using other people through the filter of social media, through the platform of social media to point to your degree of happiness, you're in trouble because you're relying on other people to do things a certain way. You're relying on Instagram's algorithms to be a certain way to be happy, essentially. And a lot of people fall foul of this and they fall into that trap. And when they lose an account, when they receive negative criticism, when they see their validation reversed, maybe they lose followers, maybe overnight something happens controversially around them and their image and they lose followers, or they get negative feedback in whatever form, they will tie that with a decrease in happiness, a decrease in self-worth. It's all perception. That's the danger. Given that there is a clear source of where the danger lies, there's also opportunity here, which means that we don't need to see social media in and of itself as the problem. We want to see, that the intelligent among us, the rational among us, need to remind ourselves that social media is a fantastic tool regardless of the negative impact it has, in the same way that oxygen is a fantastic tool regardless of the negative impact it can have. Over-breathing, anyone? So, being aware of the danger hints at the opportunity. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we can see the futility in believing that our validation is reliant on other people and our sense of happiness is reliant on others, we can see that the opposite is true. We can see that trying to get my head wrapped around this, we don't need our circumstances, we don't need the number of likes we have, we don't need the number of followers we have to be tied to our sense of self-worth. Our self-worth is an illusion. There's no such thing as self-worth. We are already whole. I know that sounds rather naff as a concept, but that's really true. We buy into the illusion that our self-worth is conditional. It isn't. There isn't such a thing. Therefore, we're already whole. We're already happy. Things don't need to be a certain way to be validated. We can create the validation ourselves by letting it go. When we let go of a need to be validated by anyone else, then we're free. We're already everything we need to be. That's pure freedom. When we can see that, when we can really grasp that, then it means that everything about social media becomes it's like an added bonus that we can layer onto an already happy life. Life is already by default happy. Life is already by default extremely high self-worth. You already have all the self-esteem you could need because you won the miracle lottery of being made into a human in the first place. It's already done. It's already in the bag. You being born has meant that you've already got everything you need. And social media now can be seen as a tool with which you can grow your business, you can get your gifts shared to more people. Regardless of how many followers you create, it doesn't need to determine the rise and fall of your self-worth unless you allow it to. So we need to have the strength and the self-awareness as we move through this journey with all of these funny tools that are arriving, all of these gifts you could call them. We need to be careful with how we see them, but it doesn't mean that we don't need to stop. It doesn't mean we need to drop them out of our lives. We can still use them as long as we use them with care. And the care that I'm pointing to is to see the distinction or the detachment, the gap between self-worth and being validated. If we realize that the two are not connected, we're free to enjoy these tools without becoming depressed if we lose followers. Obviously, that's easier said than done, but it's an ongoing practice. And if you find yourself continually depressed when you use social media, then that's a good indication that you're buying into this idea that other people have any power over your self-worth. So it's an opportunity, you could say, to breathe through that, see the reality for what it is, remind yourself that beyond all of this thinking and judgment and criticism around what's actually happening, you're still by default a happy person. So that's trying to keep things short. That's my thought right now on social media. It's a potentially fantastic tool for getting very positive ideas like these, hopefully, my videos, out into the world. Just don't buy into the seriousness of what all of this validation, all these likes mean. They're simply tools that help proliferate your content, and you could see them as simply little nudges that point to the algorithm, that point to Facebook, point to Instagram, and show them that your stuff's good. But it doesn't mean that there's anything. It doesn't mean that it's telling any story about who you are. So I want you guys to reflect on that if you can. I'd love to hear your comments on all this. Feel free to use Instagram to your heart's content, but if it's making you depressed, see it as an opportunity. And yeah, let me know what you think. Do subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. There'll be more videos coming through like this. Nearly dropped the phone. And it's been a pleasure as always, guys. Take care.